Welcome to Everest Forms tutorials. In this brief video, I'll give you a demonstration on how to use the calculations add-on. You can use the calculations add-on to create robust forms with complex calculations. You can enable the calculations add-on from the add-ons page. Search for calculations and enable it. Now once the add-on has been activated, you can simply drag a number field into your form and you'll be able to see the calculations tab within its field options. Now you can enable calculations in the number field and in the single item field. Now single item field is a payment field and I'll show you how it works in just a sec. Right now let's stick to the number field, so I'm just going to delete it. Now even though you can only enable calculations in the number field, you can however pull values from other fields to perform calculations. Now in the simplest manner, I'll show you how the calculation add-on works. Now here I'm going to grab 3 number fields. I'm simply going to name this one A, I'm going to name this one B, and the last one will be named A plus B. So now I want it whenever a user inputs a value into A and inputs another value into B, I want them added and I want the result to be viewed here. So to simply do that, I'll click on this field, I'll go within calculations and enable it. Then I'll simply go within the editor and click on the field list. Now here I'm simply going to click on A and I'm going to use a plus sign and B. I'm going to save it. Now if I preview this form, I can simply type in 1 and I can type 1. Then A plus B is 2. So there you go, this is a very basic example of how the calculator works. Now we'll move on to something a little more complex. Right, so here I'm trying to make a simple interest calculator. And I've got 4 number fields here. One is principal, time, rate, and finally simple interest. Now we're not going to touch any of these fields. Since simple interest is our output field, we're simply going to go enable calculations on this one. And the formula for simple interest is principal times time times rate divided by 100. We also have a validate formula button right here, which if we click on it, it's going to tell us whether or not a formula is valid. I'm simply going to preview this form. If our principal is 10,000, time is 1 year, and our rate is 10 years, then our simple interest is going to be 1,000. Now let's make it a little bit more complex. Now I want a condition. Suppose if the time is over 5 years, then I want them to have 10% more interest. So let's see how we can implement that. Now here in our form backend, I'm simply going to copy this formula first, and then I'm going to go into expressions tab. Now here within the expressions list, you can see brackets, your basic arithmetic operators, and you see some functions here. You got your conditional functions, your mathematical functions, and you also have string functions. Right now let's use the if condition. So for us, our requirement is if the time is greater than 5, then it's going to execute whatever formula lies between if and else, so this space right here. So I'm going to start by placing our formula first, which is PTR upon 100. I'm simply going to put this into brackets. Now keep in mind, brackets will be very important when creating long formulas. So here we have PTR upon 100, and we're simply going to add 10% of the simple interest, so it's going to be 0.1 multiplied by simple interest, for which the formula is again PTR by 100. And you're going to want to put this within brackets as well. So right now what this block of formula means, if the field 2, which is time, inputted by user is more than 5 years, then this block of code will execute, which is simple interest plus 10% of the simple interest that they were going to receive. Now we also need to have an else condition. Suppose the time they entered is not more than 5, then what do? Well, in that case, it's no rocket science. We're simply going to execute the normal simple interest formula. So you can also validate your formula from right here. There you go, it says my formula is valid, so we're simply going to save this. Now suppose for whatever reason your formula was not valid, I'm going to do this, then you'll get a pop-up explaining why your formula isn't valid. There you go, we know what the problem is. It's this right here. Simply gonna add that, save this, and let's preview the form. I'm gonna do the same thing again. My principal is gonna be 10,000, time 1, and rate 10. So right now my simple interest is 1,000. So right now if my time is 6, my traditional simple interest would be 6,000, but since we added 10% more, my simple interest is 6,600. So there you go, this is how you can use conditional expressions. BMI calculator, I've got 3 fields, I got height in meters, weight in kilograms, and BMI, and I've enabled calculations in the BMI field. So the formula for BMI is weight divided by height squared. So now I'll show you how to implement this formula right here using our arithmetic function. Now I won't be able to show you what each of these functions do in this video, so instead I'll pop up a screenshot right about now. So you can look at this screenshot and you can get to know what each of these functions do. But yeah, besides that, for this BMI calculator, I'll show you how to use the power function, which is right here. Right, so first things first, let's go about mapping our fields here. So for weight, I'm going to go into my fields menu and I'm going to click on weight in kilogram, which is the field 4. Now divided by sign remains the same, while height squared needs to be implemented in a different way. As I said before, we're going to use the power function, which is right here within our expressions menu. So simply click on power, and I'm going to remove this. Within power, I'm going to place our height field, height in meters, comma, power is 2 squared. So now let's go ahead and let's validate this formula. There you go, the formula is pretty valid. Now there's also one more thing you can do. If you don't want the value to be presented in decimal places, then you can simply get this to 0, or you can simply put this to 3, depending on however much you want. So I'm going to put a height in meters, 1.65, weight, I'm just going to put in 65, and there you go, 23.875 is our BMI. So before jumping into string functions, I'll also show you how to implement strings within your formula. So for that, I'm back here within my simple interest calculator, and here I'm simply going to add a multiple choice field, and I'm going to label it, want to add principal to the output, and I'm going to put in my choices as yes, no, and I'm simply going to remove this. Save. Right, so the basic idea here is if the user chooses yes, then we'll add principal to the simple interest, and if the user chooses no, then we'll just view the simple interest. No big deal. So let's go within our simple interest form. Calculations has been enabled, and it's still using the old formula that we had. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove all this, and we're going to keep it simple. Now we will, however, have to use the if function. So we're going to go right here. If this field want to add principal to the output equals, double equals, my bad, yes. And keep in mind, you're gonna have to put strings like yes within double quotations. Right, so if field 6, which is want to add principal to the output, is yes, then we're simply gonna paste in our formula, which is PTR upon 100 plus principal. And it's always better to use your brackets so that the plugin knows what you're trying to do. Right, there you go, PTR upon 100 plus field 1, which is principal. And what about else? Well, the else condition is triggered only when a user chooses no, so we're just going to paste in our simple formula, which is PTR upon 100. Oh, and I almost forgot, always important, validate your formula. It says formula is valid. Right, so let's go here, principal, we're going to do the same thing again, 10,000 times 10, rate 10. So there you go, 10,000 is our simple interest. Now if you want to add principal to the output, simply click on yes. There you go, 20,000, no, then 10,000 is your simple interest. Right, so that's how you can use strings within your formulas for calculation. Right, so to show you how the string function works, here I have a product form where someone is trying to sell cookies. Now within this form, I've used the payment fields. I've used the single item field, which right here is cookies, and I've priced it at $20. Now I've used a multiple choice payment field where I've asked the visitor if they need a box. If they choose yes, we're going to charge them $2 for the box, and if they choose no, then we're not going to charge for the box. And here we have our total field right here. Now you don't have to worry about calculation in your payment fields will auto-calculate. Right, but to add a twist, I have a coupon field right here, which is a single line text field, so it only takes in strings. Right, so I want to make it so whenever someone adds a certain string or a certain coupon code, then we'll give them a discount of $10 on the cookie. Right, so how do we do that? Well, I've already done it. I've added an if condition where if the field 7 equals theme grill, which is our coupon code, then this price of the cookies right here is $20, we'll subtract it by 10, else it's just going to be 20. And I also have a payment field right here so that people can pay. So right now this is how the form functions. Cookies for $20, if they need a box and they click on yes, then the total is going to be 22. And if they type in the coupon code, which is theme grill, the price of the cookies is just going to be $10 and your total will be 12. Right? I think this is pretty simple. Now I'll say this is not a great way to implement coupons. Like if you just have a single coupon, maybe you would want to use this, but I'm just trying to show you how to use these string functions right here. So suppose right now our coupon code is theme grill, right? Now someone might come in, they might paste the coupon code from somewhere, and they might have a white space at last, which is not really visible to the eye. But yeah, in this case, the string looks just fine, but because of this extra space right here, the coupon will not be applied. Now someone might just come in and they might separate the words. They might put a space in between, theme space grill. So if someone does this, then we're gonna have to concatenate these two strings and make it one by removing this white space right here. And if someone adds a space at last or a space at the beginning, well then at that point we're gonna have to remove these two spaces from the beginning and the end. Well, how do we do that? Well, we can filter out this user string input by using the concatenate function and the trim function. So I'll show you how to do that. Right, so let's take this scenario. Suppose someone inputs a space at last and a space in the beginning. Well, then we're gonna have to trim the white spaces from this string. How do we do that? Well, we use the trim function. Where do we use the trim function? We use the trim function on the information from the field 7, which is the coupon field. So for that, I'm simply going to remove this and I'm going to add a trim function, and within it, I'm going to choose my coupon field. There you go. Right, so now this formula is going to trim whatever input is going to come from the field 7 or the coupon field, and it's going to check the condition whether or not it is equal to the string that we've set here. Right, but we are missing something here. Right, like I told you before, brackets are very important, and currently the trim field 7 is an expression of itself. So we're going to have to add brackets right here. So there you go. Right, so as per the brackets, this right here, trim field 7 function will be executed first, and then it's going to check the condition. Right, so let's see how this works. I'm going to save it and preview. Right, so right now the price of cookies is 20. Yes, $2 for the box, then total is $22. Now I'm going to intentionally add a space at the beginning, and I'm going to type in theme grill. There you go, the coupon code is still applying. And I'm also going to add a space at last. And there you go, the coupon code is still applying. So the string function trim has trimmed these white spaces and has validated the coupon. So there you go, that is how it works. So in the same way, you can use the concatenate function, and you can also use the truncate function. So what did I show you? I showed you how to use your string functions, and I also showed you how to calculate the price for your single item payment field with the input from any other field. So that is about it for the calculations video. If you have any other confusions, or if you're running into any sort of issues, then you can always reach out to our support team, links down below. I hope you're having a great day. Take care.